We got a service call from the customer that his Samsung inverter refrigerator had stopped cooling. But half an hour later, he told us that his refrigerator had started to cool. Again the next morning, he told us that all the food items in the fridge got bad. The refrigerator didn't cool overnight. Visit us and check what the problem is with the refrigerator. So in this situation, what could the problem be in your refrigerator? And what should be done? My advice is that if your refrigerator is cooling and sometimes not cooling, plug the switch out of the electric socket. And then, call the technician or a professional to check what the problem is in the refrigerator. As you saw and we experienced, the customer trusted the refrigerator was fine, but instead, it stopped cooling, and all the things in the fridge got bad. So now let's explore this PCB and why this Samsung refrigerator suddenly stopped cooling as its control board malfunctioned. When I went to the customer's house to check the refrigerator, a lot of burning smells came out of the control board in this Samsung refrigerator. Then I brought the PCB to the workshop to check it. And I am sharing it with you guys as well. If anyone is facing this problem, then I have already advised you what to do. If I see the IPM PCB board, I can't find any physical damage part in it, which could make us clear whether it has some kind of problem or not. The main board rectifier IC seems to be heated up. The customer also told me electricity voltages in their house went high at that time. You can see in this clip that this IC seems to be burned. This PCB also has another problem. If I turn the PCB to the front side, it has another problem on the front side of the PCB, which is not visible until and unless I turn the PCB on the side. I can see that the capacitors had blown up, which are its boosting capacitors. They are both installed in parallel. This point of the capacitor which is connecting with the other point. The second point with this point of the capacitor. Both the capacitors are of 10 UF. This means we can install a 20 UF single capacitor here, the PCB will work. The voltages of the cap are 500 volts. I will see if any other component in the PCB is faulty or not and change that as well. They have quite blown out. Whenever the capacitors blow out in any PCB board, they never work. But the situation we are facing with this PCB board is that it sometimes works and sometimes does not, even after the capacitors are blown out. The IPM PCB seems to be fine. Now I will pass electricity to check whether this PCB board works or not. See, as I pass the electric supply, the LED light is blinking, but the glow is very low. It means that it sometimes works and sometimes does not. See, suddenly, the LED lights have started to glow normally. The capacitors have charged up, which is not a good sign. I will change the PCB capacitors with the new ones. Now I have changed and installed new capacitors in this PCB board, but these capacitors are 450 volts. The capacitors installed by the company were 500 volts as right now I don't have. I hope they will work now. I will test its voltages to know whether the rectifier voltages are fine or not. I have already given electricity to it. Let's test the voltages on the AC side of the rectifier. The voltages are 220 volts on the AC side. Let's test on the DC side of the rectifier now. The multimeter is showing 313 DC volts, which is fine. I am getting 313 DC volts on the first capacitor and 313 DC volts on the second capacitor as well. Now I will put the PCB on the front side to show you the light working now. I have unplugged the PCB from the electricity. I am quickly plugging in the switch now. The light is working properly now. Let me zoom the camera on the light blink. Now the light is working properly now. After changing the capacitor, we fixed this PCB. I then installed it back in the refrigerator. The refrigerator started working properly again. This much was for this video. I will see you at the next one. Click on the left or right thumbnail on the screen to watch our next video, and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Thank you.